Hello everyone. So I'm going to try and do another live stream soon. I don't know exactly when, maybe tomorrow. Um, like I always say, if you miss my live streams, not to worry. I'm going to do them quite regularly. I like live streams. I like interacting with my subscribers because I can't always get back to comments. So that's a way to hopefully directly engage. Um, just a quick call out to one of my subscribers. And She bought from me recently from one of my newspapers. I was going to just say her real name there, but she might not want that, so I won't. But she'll know who she is, and thank you for doing that. Like I say, if anyone else is interested in those newspapers I have for sale, please check out that video. Um, yeah, I want to get to the point here. The major issue in this country right now is the passing of Queen Elizabeth II and the accession of King Charles III. There'll be a lot more to say about that, and I will. Just very quick thing in case I forget it. Very moving thing yesterday. Tractors in Aberdeenshire had lined up beside the field to pay a tribute as the royal cortege, the Queen's coffin went past. I thought that was very moving. Kind of reminded me of when Churchill died in 1965. The cranes of the London Docklands lowered as the funeral barge went past. So it's something similar to that. Um, I can't remember a news event like this in this country of such a magnitude, and I can't remember a death of anyone in my lifetime, with the possible exception of Princess Diana, that has had such an international, certainly national, but even international reaction. Certainly Mandela was a big one, and a few others, but to have such a universal reaction this way. Um, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it's unprecedented. Um, I might be wrong about that, but I think the state funeral is going to be massive. But anyway, I digress. This isn't what the video is about. I just say that in passing because it is the main issue. It's so dominant in this country right now. But I want to talk about something totally different. Dating, online dating. Um, so I've made a few videos on this subject. I've spoken about my experience of eHarmony. This video is not about eHarmony so much. Um, it's more about Tinder and also about online dating as a man, as a straight man. Because I've previously approached it more from a generic basis, but I do think there's a difference for men and women. This is just what I've observed, and people might disagree with this, but I think the things I'm saying have basis. Of course, my female subscribers, please feel free to share your thoughts. Maybe you've had experience. Maybe some of your experience will contradict what I'm going to say here. Um, I want to just be clear. I'm not talking about this in universal terms. I'm just saying that there are some trends or some things that tend to be um, certain pressures that are on men, and there's pressures that are on women as well. So first of all, before I get into that, let me just contrast Tinder with eHarmony. I joined Tinder, not taking it very seriously, about 2 weeks ago, or not even that. Um, the way Tinder works, it's I think the world's biggest dating site. But you can have a free account. Unlike eHarmony, your free account, you can actually see people's profiles. Um, so what can you do with a free account? You can do a basic profile, have photographs, a bit of an introduction. Unlike eHarmony, it doesn't really do. There's not really tools for saying what your job is and stuff like that, which is fine. I have mixed feelings about that. It doesn't really give you a search option over what sort of people you're looking for. There isn't really that option. And that's the immediate difference between Tinder and eHarmony. eHarmony, you could specifically say you're looking, well, actually, Tinder does give an age bracket, but it doesn't say a lot of other things. For example, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe, it gives you more of a broad option, but it's automatically a difference. The search criteria on Tinder is that, well, they don't really give it to you. It's just like basically, apart from the age bracket, that's it. Um, so the way it works is you kind of swipe left or right, famously. Now on the laptop, it's not swiping that you would do on a phone. It's a little X or a little tick, I believe. Um, and I think if you match up with someone at the same time, they might get back to you. Now, so far, I've only had one chat with one person on the site, uh, Thai woman. She seemed all right. She was attractive. She seemed sincere enough, but well, I say that, but she had on her profile that she was a fashion designer. So I asked about that. I said, "Oh, right, you're a fashion designer." Now it may have been a breakdown in language, but she said no, and I said, okay, your profile says you're." So she's denying what she's written in her profile, which was a bit strange. It may have just been a misunderstanding. She said, "I run a business. I have my own shop," and I thought, Okay." I'm thinking, well, why did you say you're a fashion designer? So for me, this is red flag might be a bit of a strong expression, but I'm thinking, it's not my fault for asking. Why did you say that you are something if you're not? It's just, I think I said something like, trust is very important for me on these sites, but I hope it wasn't too confrontational. Anyway, she obviously took it that way because then she's just gone. I really didn't care. I'd invested no emotional energy in that whatsoever. So I didn't care. But a friend of mine who's gay and he uses gay apps, but I think he's used Tinder as well, which caters for everyone. He did warn me about this. You get a lot of people who are just time wasters and they're insincere. Well, he'd warned me about online dating generally, and I know he's had a real roller coaster with his experience. Um, now, my eHarmony experience was bookended by two very difficult situations. The first one I spoke about a while back, that's kind of faded into the past now. It's no longer relevant. But suffice to say, I fell for a woman who ultimately didn't have the same feelings and she rejected me. But it was hard because to me, the rejection came very abruptly when I felt things were going very well. And I found that very, very difficult. Now, the second situation, and this, like I said, it's bookended. So between the two, I spoke to lots of people, and some of it was good, some of it was blasé. Um, I don't say it was entirely bad because I made a few friends from the site in the sense that I spoke to these women and we realized we weren't quite compatible perhaps as a couple. Further that, maybe it was a situation that they still had feelings for an ex-boyfriend or whatever, but I've made a few friends from it, and I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. I mean, obviously, I'm looking for a romantic partner, but if I can make some more friends, and one of them has been a good friend, I have to say. Clearly, we're not together. Clearly, still had feelings for her boyfriend, but and she's trying to work that out. She's been a good friend to me in the sense that she's given me some useful feedback about women, basically, from her perspective, of course. I mean, I'm not suggesting that she says she speaks for every woman, but um, she's a good person, a sincere person, and I'm just pleased that she's in my life, even in some small capacity. I mean, we haven't met. She's abroad, but um, yeah, and there's a few others that I've met that way. But anyway, bookended. So the second experience was something I'm still dealing with, and I've mentioned this. I made a whole video about it. Ghosting. Young lady who actually is in Edinburgh. Well, that's what she says. And of course, yesterday with the funeral procession going there, the Queen's lying in state there now. Edinburgh was all over the news, so of course this brought that made it a bit difficult for me knowing that she's there. Um, yeah, so things were going well. We were chatting away very amicably. We were going to meet up. Um, and yeah, she's just ghosted me for 2 months. If you don't know what ghosting is, it's basically when someone abruptly stops contact for no reason, no explanation. It's not like you have an argument with someone or you fall out with someone or someone rejects you. That is not what ghosting is, people. Because I've heard ignorant people say, "Oh, dude, stop complaining. you know, you can't take no for an answer or something like that. Absolutely, that's not the situation. I have been rejected because we weren't compatible, and you know, rejection is never fun. But I'm not the sort of guy to put pressure on a woman if she's made her mind up. That's, you know, and likewise, I've been in a situation where I've had to reject people because we weren't compatible, and I didn't want to play with someone's feelings. I didn't want to waste their time. That was not the situation here. All her words were very. I mean, I don't want to get into very comprehensive analysis of this because I've already spoken about it, but all of her words were very positive. What the me, she was very positive about the whole thing. She was full of flattery. I did at one point consider it might have been a case of catfishing. If you're not familiar with that, this term refers to people who set up a fake account, fake profile pictures, and they're in it for some agenda, either for some sort of sick game or getting revenge on someone or trying to extort money. Well, briefly, I did consider this, but there's a few flaws with that theory. She didn't get anything from me. You know, she never asked for money. Not that I have money. Um, and you know, she also invested something into it. She shared things. But I ruled out the catfishing idea because one thing about fake profiles, I've been around the internet long enough to know, to read between the lines. Fake profiles usually look too good to be true. They look like a stock photo, right, of a model that's been taken from Google. The pictures that she sent, firstly, they did collaborate with the pictures that she used on eHarmony. So I mean, you could say she's used VapProof pictures in both. And she did cancel a video call that we were going to do, which was a bit strange. But she said that the reason was she'd had an argument with her mother about me. She's 27, by the way, before people jump to conclusions. But basically, her mother said she's in the UK to study, not to meet guys online. She's Malaysian, I should say. Um, so initially, I put it down to this tension with her mother that she just needed a bit of space. But no, I think now that she has felt overwhelmed and she's decided to ghost me. This has been a really, really difficult experience for me because, um, you know, we spoke for a relatively short time, but the words that she used, there was a lot of hope there. People might say I'm naive. All I would say is, unless you've been in this situation, don't just treat it like, oh, well, dude, it's just you never met her, so how do you know? You never saw her face to face. Words have power. That's all I'm going to say. Words have power. And when people promise you things, when they get your hopes up, you know, I asked the questions I had to ask. I don't think I was naive. But for whatever reason, maybe she felt overwhelmed by the situation. Maybe she felt it wasn't going to work out, and she could not bring herself to formally reject me. But she led me to believe that she was going to get back in touch and that we would have a video chat. She said we'll have to reschedule it. So she didn't say this isn't working out, sorry. Still might get back in touch. But anyway, suffice to say that's what I've been through for the last 2.5 months, and it's a very unpleasant experience. I wouldn't wish it on anyone because you're in a limbo where you can't really move on, and yet you can't do anything with, you know, all you have is speculation. If she'd rejected me, it would be a case of, well, that's disappointing, you know. I'd hope things would work out, but it is what it is, and I'd move on. When someone doesn't reject you, when they leave you with positive vibes, you know, it's not even like, oh, I have a bad feeling, this isn't going to work out. It's all positive. It's all very well to say, oh, well, she obviously isn't interested, but that isn't the case when someone has, unless she's lied for her teeth. I mean, it's all I have is speculation, and that doesn't help me. So I have to just try and distract myself. But anyway, I was going to say that's what I've been through, and that is actually relevant to what I'm talking about. Now, let me just talk a bit about Tinder. That was really what the video was about. I thought it was relevant to talk about what I've been through. Okay, Tinder. Well, actually, before I get into Tinder, let me talk about online dating as a man. Here's the big thing: men are expected to make the first move. Even in this world's the modern world that we're in, where third wave feminism has had the influence it's had, even today, men I think are still expected to make the first move. Now, here's the dilemma: guys like me who are sincere and we're not messing around, we're not playing games. I mean, not playing games with people's feelings. Some guys might want a more casual thing, and that's fine if they're honest about it. Um, but I'm talking about not playing games with people's feelings. I don't do that. Okay, even though I've had it done to me, I'm not going to put someone else through that in a vindictive sense, you know? Because why would I hurt an innocent woman just because some women have hurt me? That would be nonsensical. It's kind of like bullying someone because you've been bullied. It's stupid. So anyway, yeah, men are expected to make the first move, and here's the difficulty. You do get sleazy guys out there. They think it's right. I'll put it bluntly. They show dick pics, right? That's not only sleazy. It's pretty well. It is what it is. Now maybe 1% of women might like that, but I think even women who themselves are perhaps not taking it very seriously, I don't think any woman would appreciate that. Well, for one thing, even if he's well endowed, how does the woman know that it's really him, right? But I mean, it's crazy. Why on earth would you do that? It's just, just because even, it could be used for extortion. It could be, there's a million reasons why that's a bad idea. Anyway, you can also, even if it's not that, you can also get guys who are too forceful, too sleazy, and they're like, "Hey, babe, you're gorgeous. Do you want to have sex?" Right? They're too forward. There's some women like that, but here's the thing: if you take that pitch, if you take that approach, and I never do, it's just not my way. But someone who takes that approach, they have to be very sure that the woman on the receiving end is looking for that sort of thing. Otherwise, most women are just going to get offended by it. So from a woman's point of view, or rather what I would imagine a woman's point of view is, I should say, I understand that probably women have to put up with a lot of sleazy messages. Um, Now, apparently on Tinder, people have done statistics on this. Women get 80% more responses than men do. And that's true of all dating sites. Maybe not that exact statistic, but generally speaking, women on dating sites get responses more than men do. So, in other words, you have the situation where, let's say, for every five guys sending a message, you'll have one woman sending a message to a guy or something like that. So, in that sense, men are more proactive. Women may be more proactive in terms of trying to sell themselves on their profile, but in terms of actually following up, I think men are far more likely to respond to messages. This isn't, from my perspective, this isn't because women are heartless and women are, don't care. I think it's because they simply get a lot more messages, so they have to decipher which ones are sincere and which aren't. So I do understand that. But I would say this, some women are standoffish and they don't exactly help matters when they say things like, well, it's not only being standoffish, it's also vanity. To me, that's a big turn off. Okay. So these profiles that say, um, let's see how much you can impress me, or it's all about, like, I call it the princess syndrome, where they sort of think, the whole onus is on the man to impress them. Well, surely, especially in 2022, it should be equitable. Yes, you have a right to be happy and have expectations, but if you're just in it for yourself and just kind of putting the onus on the man to say what he can give you in terms of happiness, in terms of what you're looking for, then the obvious question is, well, what are you offering in return? Now, I'm acutely aware of that. Um, I'm not a wealthy guy, so I cannot promise a woman that I'm going to shower her with gifts or I'm going to give her, um, that's not my selling point. My selling point as best as I can is sincerity, and I try to sell myself. I'm intelligent, I'm caring, I'm romantic. I'm not the best looking guy out there, but I try to use better photographs, and I just try to make it a semi approachable profile. Um, and in my experience of Tinder, especially, you get it a bit on eHarmony. A lot of women on that site are just very much, they're divas. They're just full of themselves. Um, Now, I'm not saying for a second before I'm accused of sexism. I'm sure there's men who are like that as well, right? I'm sure there's male equivalents. I'm sure there's guys out there who are full of it. They think they're, really cool and they're not. But it's this thing about trying to strike a balance between selling yourself and having enough confidence to do so and knowing your worth whilst not coming across as arrogant and full of it. Because there is a difference. And that isn't a very easy balance to strike. Now, I believe in being proactive, and if I have like a woman's profile, if she strikes me as a sincere person and she's attractive, I am going to be proactive and I will reach out to her. Now, on Tinder, on the free account, you can't message someone unless they match with you. But a lot of them give their Instagram thing. So I have messaged one person because she was one of the very few people that struck me as sincere. Maybe that's too harsh a judgment. She's one of the people who struck me as a bit deeper. The truth is, on Tinder, I'm going to say a lot of people are just about sex. Now, in terms of aesthetics, right, this is just purely my personal opinion. I'm not saying anyone has to agree with me. I'm not telling anyone else how they should be or anything like that. This is purely my own aesthetic interest. A lot of women on Tinder have this thing where they're covered in tattoos. Now, I don't like tattoos on a woman. It's a big turn off. I don't find it attractive at all. I get the whole thing about tattoos. A lot of it's personal. Um, Fine, body sovereignty is great. However, I will say this, and this is true of men as well. You can't really say, well, it's my body. I could do what I like, and then say, why don't men find me attractive? Or vice versa. If a guy has some aesthetic thing that he's doing, and then he complains that women don't find him attractive. What Again, it's just balance. It's your body. You could do whatever you want, right? You can have whatever hairstyle you want. You can have tattoos, no tattoos, whatever. What you cannot do is complain if other people don't find it attractive. Now, maybe some guys like a woman covered in tattoos. I don't know what it is, but honestly, seeing attractive young women plaster their body in the sink, it's just, I don't find it attractive at all. The other thing is, it might look good when you're 25, possibly. I don't think it does, but each to their own. How about when you're 70, 75? That's the thing about tattoos, male or female, it's permanent. But honestly, when I see it all over the shoulder and down the arm, I'm thinking, you're an attractive young woman. Why are you defacing your body like that? I just don't, to me, it's very unappealing. But that is just my taste. If any of my subscribers have tattoos, apologies. It's nothing personal. If it makes you happy, that's wonderful. But in terms of aesthetic appeal, in terms of, what I'm looking for in a partner, tattoos, no. I mean, I accept it's a choice thing. Some women might not like a guy with red hair. That's fine. That's their aesthetic choice. Um, I'm 5'7". I'm not the tallest guy around. Some women might prefer a taller guy. Fine. The thing about tattoos, of course, it's a choice. So that's the difference. But honestly, it is like one in it's every other profile. It's a straight. I didn't see that so much on eHarmony. The other thing is you get a lot of single mothers there. Now, again, this is not judgment, because people are in different situations. There could be a lot of reasons why. Maybe they've had a shitty husband or a shitty partner who has buggered off, right? And just because someone's a parent doesn't mean they don't have a right to be happy and find a partner. Personally, that's a dead end for me because I don't want the responsibility of another man's child. And it's not necessary. It wouldn't be a case that you'd be going in and being the father because you can't be. But it would be. It is. It's something that is a definitely a different dimension, right? Because a lot of women who have children, understandably, they put their children first, and that's fine. That's understandable. But it does put the man in a difficult position. Why? Because on one hand, if he's a good guy, he wants to be a good boyfriend, he wants to be there, but he knows that he can't be the father figure. And understandably, the children, depending what age they are or child, there might be some hostility there, there might be some suspicion there. So it is a big thing to ask someone to come into your life if you have children. Um, this is not a blame thing. It's not saying, "Oh, that's your fault." It absolutely is not saying that, but it is a dimension that definitely, yeah, I would say it complicates things. Um, so for me, it's just a no. Even if she's a nice lady, even if she's sincere, I'm just that's a dead end for me. Um, Obviously, this is a pressure on single mothers that men don't have to face. Although I suppose you could say there might be a single father who's trying to get a new partner. It's more rare, I would say, but you do get it. You know, a single father, perhaps his wife is deceased, um, or his girlfriend's cheated on him, and although that sort of situation would be, I think it is more rare. But I want to be clear here, none of this is about judgment. I just aesthetically don't like tattoos, and like I say, if someone has a child or children, it's a complication. It's a dimension to it that I am not interested in being involved in. So I'm not going to waste someone's time and say, "Oh, I like you," and then further down the line say, "Oh, but your children are an issue," because obviously no woman is going to compromise her children. At least no decent woman. So that's something. Um, but the thing about the man making the first move, you know, especially in the Me Too era, I do think Me Too had a negative effect on dating in the sense it somewhat scared men because now men don't know if simply paying a compliment is going to be seen as sexual harassment. So, you know, with all due respect to women, they need to appreciate men are now in a harder position. You know, feminists may be tempted to say, "Oh, well, then men should know the boundaries." Here's the thing: most men do. Um, but you know, if someone, like for example, if you're making the first point of contact, I'll give you an example. Someone has left their Instagram. Now that ostensibly means if she's leaving it there, she expects guys to message her. Why is she leaving her Instagram on a dating site if not for that reason? So, you know, if she's not interested in the guy, that's fine. She can say so. But what she can't do then is complain and say, "Oh, you're a stranger. How dare you contact me?" I'm not saying that's happened to me, by the way, but I'm just putting it out there as a scenario because there's a pressure on the man to make the first move. So women shouldn't be standoffish if a guy is making the first move, as long as he's being respectful about it, as long as he's not being sleazy. You know, sometimes I do think there's some truth in this idea that if a guy is good looking and he makes the first move, he's going to get a warmer response than if he's not. I've seen this cartoon where it shows two different guys, and one is really good looking and one isn't. And the first guy, she says, "Oh, it's wonderful. I'm so flattered." The second guy, "Oh, what a creep." Now, this is not to say that every woman is that shallow, but all I'm saying is men are expected to make the first move, and I think women don't entirely appreciate the pressures that come with that. Because what words do you choose? You want to be, for me, I always try to get a balance. I try to get straight to the point, so she doesn't think it's spam. I try to be just friendly, not over the top, and honest. It's all you can really do. Like, "Hi, I like your profile. You seem sincere. If you have time, it would be nice to chat." Something like that. But honestly, it's difficult because a lot of people nowadays they'll either ignore the message, so then you think, what's the point? Or if they do respond, they could be standoffish. I don't want to be overly cynical. There's a lot of good women out there, and I really, really hope no one interprets. interprets this video as misogynist or some nonsense like that, I will forcefully defend myself if that's the case because it's baseless. But I'm just putting this out here to try and other guys might empathize and for women to sort of have some understanding of the pressure that men are under. Of course, women are under pressure as well. Like I say, they have to put up with maybe a lot of sleazy messages, and maybe they've had their heart broken, and they don't want time wasted by um, insincere guys. But when it comes to heartbreak, it happens to men and women. So we cannot generalize in that department. You just can't. I've been heartbroken. I've been messed around, and I know women have as well. So people shouldn't say, "Oh, why do men do this?" or "Why do women do this?" It comes down more to people, but there is that dynamic of men having to make the first move. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, by the way. I'm just saying that it is a certain pressure. And by the way, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a woman making the first move. If a woman liked my profile and she contacted me, I'd be happy and I'd speak to her. Whether or not we're compatible is a different issue, but I'd appreciate her taking the time. Okay, let me know your thoughts.